This podcast is supported by the original organic bedding and bath brand, Koyuchi.
Koyuchi has spent 35 years pioneering quality organic textiles, long before the word organic became, trendy. But words matter to Koyuchi. Words like craftsmanship, longevity, and wellness. So what does the word wellness mean to Koyuchi? It means that all of our products are absolutely free from harsh chemicals and dangerous toxins that can seep into your skin. It means effortless style that looks as good as it feels with naturally breathable, pre-washed organic cotton. And what does all of that mean to you? Well, it means that you can sleep well in Koyuchi's crisp, cool, luxuriously soft sheets that are ethically made and made with you in mind. Live well, sleep well with Koyuchi. And now during our Memorial Day sale event, you can enjoy 20% off organic cotton sheets, towels, and everything else at Koyuchi.com. That's Koyuchi.com for 20% off from now until May 25th. Koyuchi.com.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
It's an Olympics you'll never forget. Prime time in Milan. The moments.
Chloe Kim with the gold medal flex.
The stars.
Ilya Malinin.
Out of this world.
The spectacle from beautiful northern Italy with very special guests every night of the Olympics. Experience the world's biggest show. Prime time in Milan. Tonight, 8/7 Central on NBC and Peacock.
The big game commercials are basically must-see TV. This year, Elf Cosmetics went all out with an absurdly funny telenovela called Melissa. It stars Melissa McCarthy, Nicholas Gonzalez, Itati Cantoral, and Elf Glow Reviver Lip Oil. The Elf Glow Reviver Lip Oil is an ultra-glossy tinted lip oil that nourishes, hydrates, and enhances your lips' natural color.
Watch the full episode of their new Elf novela on soyunbaño.com.
Ever wonder why so many people regain weight after stopping a GLP-1? Up to 40% of the weight lost can come from lean muscle. This weakens the body, slows metabolism, and makes it easier to put the pounds back on, creating a cycle of dependency. Prolon's 5-day fasting-mimicking diet offers a drug-free way to maintain results and support long-term metabolic health. In just 5 days, it activates fasting pathways to burn fat, protect muscle, and rejuvenate cells, all while letting you enjoy real food. Get 15% off plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe at prolonlife.com/iHeart. That's prolonlife.com/iHeart.
Over the last couple years, didn't we learn that the folding chair was invented by Black people because of what happened in Alabama?
The Montgomery Brawl.
This Black History Month, the podcast Selective Ignorance with Mandy B unpacks Black history and culture with comedy, clarity, and conversations that shake the status quo. The Crown Act in New York was signed in July of 2019, and that is a bill that was passed to prohibit discrimination based on hairstyles associated with race. To hear this and more, listen to Selective Ignorance with Mandy B from the Black Effect Podcast Network on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
1969. Malcolm and Martin are gone. America is in crisis. And at Morehouse College, the students make their move.
These students, including a young Samuel L. Jackson, locked up the members of the Board of Trustees, including Martin Luther King Sr. It's the true story of protest and rebellion in Black American history that you'll never forget. I'm Hans Charles.
I'm Menelik Lumumba.
Listen to The A Building on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Support for The Middle comes from the Tawani Foundation, making a sustained and measurable difference for organizations that focus on enriching knowledge, improving health and wellness, and promoting scientific understanding. More information on how you can support The Middle at listentothemiddle.com. Welcome to The Middle. I'm Jeremy Hobson, along with our house DJ, Tolliver. And Tolliver, I have an idea. Instead of talking about the economy this hour, I was thinking let's just listen to my Spotify playlist.
Oh, cool. The whole hour, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think about that?
I'm with it. Let's get it, man.
Okay.
I'm next.
Yeah, because this actually happened this week. Take a listen.
So play YMCA. Go ahead. Let's go. Nice and loud.
Nice and loud. Nice and loud. Okay.
You know, when I think of Donald Trump, I think of the Village People.
Exactly.
The first thing that comes to mind.
Okay, so we're not going to do that. We are going to talk this hour about the issue that is usually the most important issue to most voters. That would be the economy. What do you want the next president to do about it? We'll get to your calls in a moment at 844-4MIDDLE. That's 844-464-3353. But first, last week, we asked you what you want done on another big issue, immigration and deportation. We got a lot of great calls. Here are some that came in after the show.
My name is Beth Ann. I'm from Denver, Colorado. I think immigration is important. I think we need a better vetting system to keep criminals out. But I think that the next president should look into making sure that people can get here legally, because our economy is so based on foreign help.
Hi, this is Elizabeth, and I'm calling from the Cincinnati region. I want to see controlled immigration. So immigration is a great thing for this country when it's in line with what helps the country grow.
Hi, my name is Steve, and I'm calling from Ann Arbor, Michigan. I believe in a secure border, as I think most Americans do, but let's naturalize these folks. Let's let them pay their taxes because they're already here, and it just makes sense.
Well, thanks to everyone who called in, and you can hear that entire episode on our podcast in partnership with iHeart Podcasts on the iHeart app or wherever you listen to podcasts. So now to our topic this hour. What do you want the next president to do about the economy? Vice President Kamala Harris has floated numerous tax credits for working families and tax increases for corporations and high earners. Former President Trump, on the other hand, has talked about cutting taxes and putting tariffs on all foreign imports. When it comes to the economy right now, a lot of the indicators look good. Inflation down, consumer spending up, the unemployment rate low, around 4.1%. But food prices are up about 25% since the COVID pandemic. And recent data from the Pew Research Center finds fewer than a quarter of Americans currently rate the country's economy as excellent or good. So what do you want the next president to do about the economy? Tolliver, what is our number?
It's 8444-MIDDLE. That's 844-464-3353. Or you can write to us at listentothemiddle.com. We already have so many responses, so join them.
And the calls are coming in as well. Let's meet our panel from St. Louis. Juli Niemann, financial analyst with Smith Moore and Company. Julie, great to have you back.
Thanks, Jeremy.
And business journalist Roben Farzad, host of Full Disclosure, is with us from Richmond, Virginia. Roben, welcome to you.
Thank you, Jeremy.
And before we get to the phones, let me just talk to each of you. Julie, this is from a recent CNN article. It says, quote, "The job market is booming. Inflation has come back down to earth. Americans are spending like crazy. Whatever. Voters don't care. They still think the economy is trash." Why is that?
This out of touch with the reality has been going on for 3 years. And boy, some of the economists were even with them earlier, that we're in a recession. We're going into a recession. It's the end of Western civilization as we know it. I think this sense of impending doom is just a result of 2020. But the reality is we have been recovering very nicely. We're continuing on it. And right now, there's no evidence of any recession coming. So you have emotion and you have feelings ahead of facts. And that's the big problem. Nobody is connecting with the facts. It's feelings that they have.
But Roben Farzad, you do have higher prices, as we said. Yeah. Does how you view the economy just depend on your own personal circumstances?
I don't think you're going to have the White House run victory laps around this stock market or record housing prices because there's so many people locked out of both. It's considered a first world privilege. But I really think it goes back to inflation. As we know, I would say the majority of Americans had not experienced capital I inflation. It's something that really visited us in the early 80s that the Paul Volcker Fed had to try to arrest. And so there are all these misconceptions out there that XYZ cost $4 at the grocery store or at the restaurant in 2019. Why is it now, $5.75? Why isn't it back to $4 if we've broken the back of inflation? That's not the way inflation works. And so there's a lot of anger out there. Even if the economy is creating jobs, it's so much cold comfort if you're still feeling the sticker shock at restaurants, hospitality, FOMO, car insurance. I mean, Jeremy, you've gone through all the various things that have gone up kind of parabolically.
Well, Julie, what do you think would satisfy Americans on the economy right now? What would make them feel good about it, given that there are these many indicators? I mean, short of, I guess, prices coming down by 25%, although that might not be a good thing if you have prices dropping that quickly.
That would be deflation.
Right.
What we have right now is inflation definitely getting slower, but its prices are still going up. And people are still digesting the higher prices to begin with. They've got good wages now, good jobs, solid ability to buy. But those wages cannot possibly keep up with rates of inflation in two key areas where everybody feels it: food, housing. Those are the two things that are still not being under control with inflation.
One more thing, and then let's get to the phones. Roben Farzad, how much power does the president have to affect the economy? Because I think back like to 2008, right before the election, if the president had all the power, then George W. Bush would never have allowed a financial crisis to occur right before the election.
No, it's in the hands of the Fed. There were some extraordinary powers during the pandemic, obviously, with fiscal stimulus. And if you remember, Donald Trump wanted his signature bigly on those checks, and that was a part of the circumstances that led to inflation. But as we know, it's the Federal Reserve. Maybe they waited too long to hike. Maybe they left too much stimulus out there. Maybe, just maybe, there was way too much PPP to go around, and people got to double dip and triple dip, and the economy took way too much stimulus, and we snapped out of it. I don't think it's like, the late Hugo Chavez of Venezuela has a call-in show. I think it was called Hello Comandante or something, and people would complain like, I can't get cement anywhere. And if you could go and see it on YouTube, and he's like, send this man a donkey and 5 sacks of cement. That's not the way this country works.
That's what Tolliver does sometimes with our callers. He just fixes their problems.
I just bribe them. Yeah.
Let's get to the phones. And Gregory, who is calling from Lakeland, Florida. Gregory, welcome to the middle. What do you think about the economy? What do you want the next president to do about it?
Hey, thank you for having me, and thank you for having this conversation. What do I think about the economy? I'm a business owner. I work in the home improvement industry. If the economy is doing bad, I don't think people really actually know it. People say it, but people still buying stuff. People still getting this fixed. People still getting that fixed. I want new tile here, So they say that the economy is bad, but people still spending money like crazy. And I think the biggest thing where people actually talk about this inflation, I think the biggest problem is the Republicans have a great megaphone with Fox News, so they put this information out, and Democrats' megaphone is not really that good at all, and nobody really listens to that megaphone. I have a household of 7. I actually did my numbers to see actually how much more money I'm actually spending since the inflation is at the highest point of inflation.
Wow.
And it's basically I have to buy 2 less Hennessy bottles a month. Every 2 weeks I can't go out and buy a Hennessy bottle. Like, it's not really that bad. Yeah, I'm paying about $30 more on food. And that's with a 7-person household. So, like, people talk about inflation, but when you actually add up how much you're actually spending, it's not really that much. Okay. Now, what really is killing people is housing. Housing is
housing
crazy.
Like, well, so Gregory, just briefly,
stupid.
Gregory, what would you like the next president to do when it comes to housing? Do you have an idea of what you'd like them to do?
Well, I'm out here in Florida, so Governor Ron DeSantis actually could have did something for me better than what the president could have did. He could have put in rent control.
Rent control. Okay.
And then with the rent control, that would have actually kept housing down, and that would have actually made a big difference in people's lives.
Yeah.
It's more housing that's actually killing people more than actually groceries and food. Because like $30-$40, okay, I'm paying that extra. Yeah. But when you're spending about 2 times as much for rent as you was 4 or 5 years ago, that's a big difference.
Okay.
That's a big hit.
Okay.
And is that
Gregory,
really on the government?
We've got it. We've got it. Thank you very much for
Bring
that
him
call.
on next week.
Right, exactly. You can come back
going.
anytime. But Juli Niemann, interesting there. Gregory says he's spending more than ever, and that housing is still an issue, though.
Yeah. The key thing is the housing problem is a long-term problem. We've had a housing shortage for the last 15 years, and it's going to take a good 10 years to get this corrected. There has been no funding since the collapse of the global financial system, and it was that in 2008 and 2009. There's been no significant lending on massive scales to housing development, housing sections, new towns going up. None of that is happening. Massive development.
And that's what we need, you think?
That's what we
building.
need to have happen, and it has to have funding for it. Now, where are you going to get that funding? Well, the banks are absolutely paranoid. They brought us into the mess of 2008 and 2009, and now they're afraid to do anything. They have good cause for that because they tend to be terrible in terms of analyzing risk. So I think the government has to step in here with some kind of subsidy program, or at least loan guarantees, a new Fannie Mae, a new Freddie Mac, whatever it is, to help with the development of it, because this is going to be a long-term problem.
Robin, what do you think about what Gregory was saying there? It is an interesting point that he thinks people are spending more than ever before, even if they complain about it. And he brought up Fox News and sort of the megaphone of people saying the economy is bad in the media.
Yeah, you try to find a landscaper or a stone cutter or a mason or anybody who deals with heating, HVAC people, heat pump people. Housing is still on fire. And I don't understand, Juli Tolliver. Maybe somebody can explain it to me. America, are we supposed to be stimulating, cutting interest rates and mortgage rates into this? Is that targeting the area? I mean, to those who are the have-lesses and the have-nots? when housing is already on fire. I don't see how you get older people who've been holding on to housing with the renaissance of remote living and work from home to unleash some of that inventory to hungrier, younger families. Like I don't see targeted policy out there.
Tolliver, the line, "It's the economy, stupid," which sort of works for the show that we're doing right now, came from an advisor to former President Bill Clinton, James Carville.
Yeah, and listen here to a key moment from the 1992 presidential debate when then Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton talks about having his finger on the pulse of the state's economy.
I've been governor of a small state for 12 years. I'll tell you how it's affected me. Every year, Congress and the president sign laws that make us do more things and gives us less money to do it with. I see people in my state, middle-class people, their taxes have gone up in Washington and their services have gone down, while the wealthy have gotten tax cuts. I have seen what's happened in this last 4 years when, in my state, when people lose their jobs, there's a good chance I'll know them by their names.
I don't know if that's really true. I find that kind of hard to believe, but it's still a big state, even, in the 90s.
Who knows, man? Back in the 90s?
Yeah,
was
but
possible.
I will say that the unemployment rate at that time was 7.1% when he said that, and now it's 4.1%. We'll be right back with more of your calls on The Middle.
It's an Olympics you'll never forget. Prime time in Milan. The moments.
Chloe Kim with the gold medal flex.
The stars.
Julia Niemann.
Out of this world.
The spectacle from beautiful northern Italy with very special guests every night of the Olympics. Experience the world's biggest show. Prime time in Milan, tonight 8/7 Central on NBC and Peacock.
Welcome to the A Building. I'm Hans Charles.
I'm Menelik Lumumba. It's 1969. Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. had both been assassinated, and Black America was at a breaking point. Rioting and protests broke out on an unprecedented scale.
In Atlanta, Georgia, at Martin's alma mater, Morehouse College, the students had their own protest. It featured two prominent figures in Black history, Martin Luther King Sr. and a young student, Samuel L. Jackson.
To be in what we really thought was a revolution. I mean, people were dying.
1968, the murder of Dr. King, which traumatized everyone.
The FBI had a role in the murder of a Black Panther leader in Chicago.
This story is about protest. It echoes in today's world far more than it should, and it will blow your mind.
Listen to the A Building on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is Ryder Strong, and I have a new podcast called The Red Weather.
It was many and many a year ago in a kingdom by the sea.
In 1995, my neighbor, Anna Trainer, disappeared from a commune.
It was hard to wrap your head around. It was nature and trees and praying and drugs.
So no, I am not your guru.
And back then, I lied to my parents, I lied to police, I lied to everybody.
There were years, Ryder, where I could not say your name.
I've decided to go back to my hometown in Northern California, interview my friends, family, talk to police, journalists, whomever I can, to try to find out what actually happened.
Isn't it a little bit weird that they obsess over hippies in the woods and not the obvious boyfriend?
They have had this case for 30 years.
I'll teach you sons of to come around here with my wife. Boom, boom.
This is The Red Weather. Listen to The Red Weather on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I actually drive better when I'm high. It heightens my senses, calms me down. If anything, I'm more careful. Honestly, it just helps me focus.
That's probably what the driver who killed a 4-year-old told himself. And now he's in prison. You see, no matter what you tell yourself, if you feel different, you drive different. So if you're high, just don't drive. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Segregation in the day, integration at night.
When segregation was the law, one mysterious Black club owner had his own rules.
We didn't worry about what went on outside. It was like stepping in another world.
Inside Charlie's place, Black and white people danced together. But not everyone was happy about it.
You saw the KKK?
Yeah, they was dressed up in their uniform.
The KKK set out to raid Charlie, take him away from here.
Charlie was an example of power.
They had to crush him.
From Atlas Obscura, Rococo Punch, and Visit Myrtle Beach comes Charlie's Place, a story that was nearly lost to time. Until now. Listen to Charlie's Place on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is The Middle. I'm Jeremy Hobson. If you're just tuning in, The Middle is a national call-in show. We're focused on elevating voices from the middle, geographically, politically, and philosophically, or maybe you just want to meet in the middle. This hour, we're asking you, what do you want the next president to do about the economy? Tolliver, what is the number to call in?
It's 8444-MIDDLE. That's 844-464-3353. You can also write to us at listentothemiddle.com or on social media. I'm checking them all.
And I'm joined by business journalist Roben Farzad and financial analyst Juli Niemann, and the phone lines are lighting up. So let's go to Phil in Racine, Wisconsin. Phil, what do you want the next president to do about the economy?
Well, this is Phil Schultz in Racine. I would like to see the very rich golden fleeced to pay off the national debt.
That's what you'd like to see, tax the rich and pay off the debt.
Yeah, the golden, give them the golden fleece,
Yep.
and so we can get money to pay down the national debt.
Okay. Juli Niemann, the golden fleece.
That's a rage against the very rich who are paying almost nothing in terms of taxes. Exxon has a tax rate of 7%. Some of the richest people in the United States, quote, owe money, but haven't paid it in centuries because they have the money to keep appealing and dodging all around with it. We want to see fairness in the tax system because the rest of us are paying our taxes. So what do? There is one simple solution that has been around for years. Forbes was the first one to come out with it, and that is a flat tax. No deductions. Everybody pay 15%. The only people would have some exemptions from that rate would be the poor. But everybody else, including corporations, pays 15% with no deductions. It's the deductions that give you all the tax dodging, and those are all the goodies that congressmen hand out.
Well, and by the way, the presidential candidates are proposing more deductions. Kamala Harris wants a new deduction for starting a business, a new deduction for buying a home, and things like that. Let's get to another call. Abby is in Chicago. Abby, what do you think the next president should do about the economy?
I think, thanks for having me on the call. And it's a great panel to have to discuss about the economy is stupid. But in terms of the next president, the policy should be in line with trying to obviously get the national debt down. And I know the national debt doesn't work in similar lines to a personal debt, but at the same time, being fiscally responsible always, is better for the country. Also, to be honest, it's not from the talking point of other people on the calls today. It's more the corporations being greedy, and I would go to the extent of saying it's the greedy stupid, and it's not necessarily the economy where corporations and the greed that they display.
But so Abhi, just to drill down on something you said there. So are you more interested as a voter in the debt, the national debt coming down versus more, let's say, goodies for you or for other people in this country, but more money coming to people?
So there's two ways of doing that. So there is more ways to get goodies, but at the same time, there's a cost-benefit ratio analysis. So unless there's a benefit to getting a goodie, I don't think it should be done. There should be a fine understanding of policy to take steps towards giving goodies while at the same time not necessarily putting at risk the debt in that sense.
Okay. Abhi, thank you very much. It's interesting, Roben Farzad, that these last two callers have brought up the debt.
Yeah, it sounds almost, drink your milk, stay in school, be a good kid.
Eat your broccoli.
Who's out there carrying the torch against fiscal profligacy? I mean, clearly not. It's not the MAGA GOP. I mean, the kind of Rockefeller Republicans, the Chamber of Commerce class and everything. That's all like, you talk about, Julie, you talk about Steve Forbes. I mean, that's totally forgotten. That's so 1996 vintage. And especially over the past 5 years, we've been putting so much on the tab, but I think we've not been punished for that profligacy. It's not like borrowing costs have soared. The United States has an exceptionalism where, things go wrong and people pile into our debt. And our borrowing costs are still relatively low. I mean, if there were runaway and Congress had to get its act together and really cut a lot of that fat out, that'd be one thing. And if you saw real crowding out of private investment, but you have thriving capital markets right now. You have people kind of saying, what me worry, even though if you see it on a chart, the amount of debt increase, since the last recession, since the last huge slowdown is staggering.
Ben is joining us from St. Petersburg, Florida, just after Milton. Ben, what do you think? What does it look like from your end in terms of the economy?
Hi, Jeremy. Thank you so much for taking my call. I'm on I feel like a micro spectrum of what you guys have been talking about. We just had Hurricane Milton come through, and this is the first. I've lived in Florida for 7 years, and this is the storm. This storm came through like nothing else. Luckily, myself, my girlfriend, and my dog evacuated, but our roof was torn off, and I can't live in my home. But more anything that I wanted to do, I wanted to come back home last Friday and go back and support my local businesses. I have a bakery 2 blocks from my house that I want to go back, and I wanted to buy a loaf of bread, and in my thoughts, there's so many local small businesses in St. Petersburg. Everyone says Tampa. Tampa is a big place. St. Petersburg, we're on the other side of the bay, and we're a community of neighborhoods. And there are so many small businesses that they're posting on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, if you have it, that they can't survive past this if no one comes back.
So, but are you getting, as a small business though, are you getting the help that you need right now, or from FEMA, or do you feel like just in the long term it's going to be a bigger issue?
I can't move in my house until sometime next year, probably. And there's small businesses, they've gutted everything. And I applied. I can't get FEMA assistance.
Okay, so obviously, Ben, you're dealing with an immediate problem. Just to bring us back on topic for this program, is there something bigger about what you would want the president to do economically right now, or is it just about helping St. Petersburg, the places that were hit by the hurricanes?
Wasn't the SBA unfunded as of 2 days ago? That was announced, right? The small business assistance, they said they ran out of money.
Julie Niemann, you're nodding there.
Yes, they did. They're asking for a special grant from Congress to refund them to get more in it. They're not, in all likelihood, they will.
I'll get it.
But you're right, they're depleted.
And our Congress people, Jeremy, aren't going to be back in office for a month.
Right.
30 days. Right. The next session of Congress doesn't start until the 16th.
Yeah.
And we have Ron DeSantis. I call him Ron AD, but and he you laugh, I laugh, and I love the state of Florida. This is such a beautiful state, and especially the Tampa Bay area. I mean, if anyone in the country, if you're listening right now, please, in a couple months, come back down, support Tampa Bay, support St. Petersburg. It's such a beautiful.
Okay, Ben, we've got it, and thank you for that commercial for Florida, and it'll be very nice in the next few months. But thank you very much for that call. I do want to ask you, Roben Farzad, about that, because there are so many big issues that have big events that happen, like the hurricanes, that have huge economic impacts. And while we sort of you hear Ben talking about that, you think, oh, this is a specific problem to people who are living in this place. So many places have had climate disasters over the last year, or natural disasters, and are in the same situation where they need the government to step in at moments like that with money.
Yeah, but also think about, I grew up in Miami. Think about the idiosyncratic problem in the wake of the Surfside condo collapse, where all of these older people right now stuck with special assessments. And I don't want to be very provincial and parochial about Florida. They're experiencing kind of a huge capital call right now, a mini financial crisis. Older Americans, people in older condos who either have to sell it at a huge markdown or pay up for a big special assessment in order to make code. This economy's success is not really visiting them. If you're stuck with, you've seen these articles in the Wall Street Journal. It's happening in Tampa. It's happening in Fort Lauderdale, in Miami. You're stuck with $100,000, $150,000 assessment. You thought that would be money that you'd have for retirement. You have to have a lot of coordination with, I don't know, whatever it is. These people are essentially looking for a bailout. Who's at fault? Was it the condo boards? Or was it climate preparedness? I mean, we were kind of punting on this for decades. And then this is a lot specific to kind of coastal America. And a lot of people on the inside, and you cover the middle, may not experience things like this. So, I mean, when I talk to my mom, when I talk to my friends and their friends' parents in Florida, these are the things that are front and center right now, not necessarily, 100,000 jobs created last month or the month before.
Tolliver, some notes coming in on listentothemiddle.com.
Absolutely. Tom in Detroit gets straight to the point. He says, raise taxes on everyone making over $300,000 a year. Jim in Champaign, Jeremy, I think he's right over your shoulder.
Yeah,
there.
right.
He says, I'd like to tackle the issue of minimum wage as an unfunded mandate. I believe in a minimum wage. More than that, I consider the minimum wage to be important enough to be backed by the full government. Jeremy, I'll tell you, the candidate that will get my vote is the one that brings me a giant Publishers Clearinghouse check to my door. Okay? I'm voting for them.
All right. I think a lot of people probably feel that way. Maria is with us from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Maria, welcome to the middle. Go ahead.
Thank you. I would like the next president to raise the minimum wage and to protect the middle class and to continue investing in our infrastructure and in training people for the jobs of the future. I'm in education, and I can't tell you how much we need job training. So that is a huge thing. In North Carolina, I also think a voting rights act that makes elections fair would help our economy, because our state is gerrymandered and has a legislature that does not represent the people, legislates against the interests of the working class. And if we could vote in the real free elections in North Carolina, we could elect true representatives that would help our state make much more progress, instead of having these legislatures that are engaging in cultural wars and creating divisions. So in North Carolina, we need an active president who will solve some of the big problems the country has.
Maria, thank you very much. Juli Niemann, Maria brings up for the first time in this hour, training people for the jobs of the future. Are you hearing that from the presidential candidates? I haven't heard very much talk about training for the jobs of the future, or artificial intelligence and what to do about jobs that are going to go away because of that.
Probably the biggest answer is that there's no answer for that. That is really something that's pie in the sky at this point. What are the jobs of the future? Figuring it out. That's what those futurists all come up with. What's going to get you voted in right now is, what are you going to do for me right now? What this lady is saying is that we need better education. Absolutely. Do we need job retraining? Every time an industry is shut down, you have to retrain. We've had so many companies go away here in St. Louis, airlines go down, everybody had to retrain, and they did, but it was painful. It's just the process you have to go through, is retraining.
Let's go to Max, who's in Wellington, Colorado. Max, what do you think the next president should do about the economy?
Boy, there's no shortage. I apologize if I'm getting the name incorrect, but is there a guest named Julian?
Yeah, Julie, yeah.
Julie, sorry. I want Julie to be president.
Same.
Yeah. Well, okay,
If you'd indulge me, I'd like to. If you'd indulge me, I'd like to start with a quick joke. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Who's there?
Economist.
Yeah, Economist too.
Economist the last downturn, but I'll try to do better next time. Anyway, it goes without saying that you folks have a
Put it
great
in my
show.
dad joke repertoire.
Yeah. Max, I'm going to let you go because I want to just find out what people think we should have the next president do about the economy. But thank you for those jokes. And let's just get another call in here. Yolanda in Kansas City is with us. Yolanda, what do you want the next president to do about the economy?
Well, I would like them to have some vision for a future that is built on growth and supporting people's needs and not on destruction. We are spending, just in one country alone, $18 billion on the Israeli military. We are now short on FEMA funding. And it needs, we need to stop funding militarism. We need to stop funding destruction. We need to basically fund health care. We need to fund education. We need to fund retraining. Industries that are basically benefiting from war alone need to be retrained so that they basically can do things that are good for people. And it can be done, but you have to have the vision to do it. Okay,
Yolanda, let me just briefly ask you, how would you rate the economy right now?
How would I rate the economy?
Yeah.
Well, as far as I would say that we have a long way to go. Okay, we do not take care of people's needs. There's no funding for child care for people who make minimum wage. There's no, education needs better funding. Health care. I'm a physician. Health care is horrible. People say, "Oh, you have safety net clinics." Yeah, we have safety net clinics. One just closed in Kansas City, Kansas, where I practice. 3,000 people have been with no insurance, are left sort of fumbling, trying to figure out how they're going to get their medications and their health care because they don't have, and then the insurance industry that they created is totally horrible. I think they need to be taken out of the mix totally, to be honest, because why do you think people like me, who I'm not Medicare eligible, get 18 calls a day during open enrollment so that I join their Advantage plan or this plan? Because they are making billions from us, okay? And that money should be going into providing health care for people and providing a safety net for people that are having to retrain. They should have an income while they're retraining. Okay?
Yolanda, thank you very much for that.
Jeremy,
I really
people got
appreciate
stuff
it.
in their chest
They
today.
do. They've got a lot to say tonight. Roben Farzad, though, your thoughts there. I mean, she does bring up an interesting point, which we do hear when we do shows like this, that people don't want the U.S. spending money on wars, way too much money on defense, some people think.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say in a mercenary sense, that money is overwhelmingly going to, U.S. arms makers who've been flush, who've been in clover because of that. And there's a whole military industrial complex whose outlays are really not questioned, whether you're talking Ukraine or various things going to the Middle East or other allies. The caller does make a really important part. There's a bit of a financial crisis going on with rural healthcare providers, Jeremy. And as hospitals going out of business, ER units, OBGYNs, and there's a real disparity.
And we'll get to that. But Tolliver, I have to say the economy is such a consequential issue that it can actually bring entire presidential campaigns to a halt.
That's right. In the wake of the 2008 financial crisis, Republican Senator John McCain suspended his campaign to focus on passing legislation to repair the nation's fractured economy, all with less than a month to Election Day.
Tomorrow morning, I'll suspend my campaign and return to Washington after speaking at the Clinton Global Initiative. I've spoken to Senator Obama and informed him of my decision, and I've asked him to join me. I'm calling on the President to convene a leadership meeting from both houses of Congress, including Senator Obama and myself. It's time for both parties to come together to solve this problem.
Yeah, I remember then Senator Obama said, I can do two things at once. I can campaign and legislate.
Right,
I said,
right.
And drop the gauntlet.
And then he won. We'll be right back with you. More of your calls coming up on The Middle.
It's an Olympics you'll never forget. Prime time in Milan. The moments.
Chloe Kim with the gold medal flex.
The stars.
Ilya Malinin.
Out of this world. The spectacle from beautiful northern Italy with very special guests every night of the Olympics. Experience the world's biggest show. Prime time in Milan. Tonight, 8/7 Central on NBC and Peacock.
Welcome to the A Building. I'm Hans Charles.
I'm Menelik Lumumba. It's 1969. Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. had both been assassinated, and Black America was at a breaking point. Rioting and protests broke out on an unprecedented scale.
In Atlanta, Georgia, at Martin's alma mater, Morehouse College, the students had their own protest. It featured two prominent figures in Black history, Martin Luther King Sr. and a young student, Samuel L. Jackson.
To be in what we really thought was a revolution. I mean, people were dying.
1968, the murder of Dr. King, which traumatized everyone.
The FBI had a role in the murder of a Black Panther leader in Chicago.
This story is about protest. It echoes in today's world far more than it should, and it will blow your mind.
Listen to The A Building on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is Ryder Strong, and I have a new podcast called The Red Weather.
It was many and many a year ago in a kingdom by the sea.
In 1995, my neighbor, Anna Trainer, disappeared from a commune.
It was hard to wrap your head around. It was nature and trees and praying and drugs.
So no, I am not your guru.
And back then, I lied to my parents, I lied to police, I lied to everybody.
There were years, Ryder, where I could not say your name.
I've decided to go back to my hometown in Northern California, interview my friends, family, talk to police, journalists, whomever I can, to try to find out what actually happened.
Isn't it a little bit weird that they obsess over hippies in the woods and not the obvious boyfriend?
They have had this case for 30 years.
I'll teach you sons of to come around here and my wife. Boom, boom.
This is The Red Weather. Listen to The Red Weather on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
14 years in prison for killing a young woman. A 15-year sentence for a crash that caused 3 deaths. 12 and a half years for killing a child and critically injuring her mother. All true stories, all caused by marijuana-impaired drivers. No matter what you tell yourself, if you feel different, you drive different. So, if you're high, just don't drive. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Segregation in the day, integration at night.
When segregation was the law, one mysterious Black club owner had his own rules.
We didn't worry about what went on outside. It was like stepping in another world.
Inside Charlie's Place, Black and white people danced together. But not everyone was happy about it.
You saw the KKK?
Yeah, they was dressed up in their uniform.
The KKK set out to raid Charlie, take him away from here.
Charlie was an example of power. They had to crush him.
From Atlas Obscura, Rococo Punch, and Visit Myrtle Beach comes Charlie's Place. A story that was nearly lost to time. Until now. Listen to Charlie's Place on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is The Middle. I'm Jeremy Hobson. This hour, we're asking you, what do you want the next president to do about the economy? You can call us at 844-4MIDDLE. That's 844-464-3353. Or you can reach out at listentothemiddle.com. I'm joined by financial analyst Juli Niemann and business journalist Roben Farzad. And while we have a break from knock-knock jokes, Roben Farzad, let me just ask you, Donald Trump has talked about a 10% tariff on everything across the board and up to 1,000% tariffs on specific things. What kind of an effect would that have?
There's a great Wall Street Journal piece on the potential for tariffs to approach what we saw in the Great Depression and Hawley Smoot. These things have unintended consequences. You're sometimes playing with fire. I don't know how it plays in the grand scheme of things. How does it hit you back at Walmart, where what would they say is Walmart is one of the largest trading partners in the country if it was a country unto itself? Who cries uncle first? We, China, Germany, the various other players. You saw it had unintended consequences with agriculture. It sure sounds great. Stick it to the foreigners taking our jobs, the foreign companies and the scheming globalists. But in practice, I think we end up paying for it. I'm not sure.
Juli Niemann, Kamala Harris has talked about tax credits for childcare, for starting a small business, for first-time home buyers, raising taxes on corporations and the wealthy. Do you think that if she were to win, that those policies would actually happen, would be able to get through Congress?
I doubt it, simply because in almost every single elections, promises are made, and usually nothing is done about it. There'll be a token attempt to get something through, and especially if you have a divided Congress, which looks increasingly probable, nothing gets through. And so we become appreciative when you have a locked situation. At least no mischief can go through when it's locked. But you would have to have completely one way or the other, all Republican or all Democrat, to get through what your wish list was.
Although in the last two presidential elections, we did end up with a situation where the president and his party had both houses of Congress, at least in the beginning. Let's go to Marcus, who is in Duluth, Minnesota. Marcus, welcome to The Middle. Go ahead.
Hey, thank you for taking my call. We were talking about the economy, and I think one thing that could be potentially very helpful for many Americans is regulating interest rates, in particular on things like student loans, government student loans. I myself am a teacher in a university, and in order to get promotion, I had to get a terminal degree. So I've gone back to school and have now acquired an additional $100,000 of student loan debt. And the interest rate on my most recent government student loans is 3 times higher than it was when I graduated with my master's. So I'll be paying student loans with Social Security checks, hopefully.
Wow.
So I think something that could certainly help many Americans in my situation is just regulation of interest rates.
Let me ask Roben Farzad about that. Very good point, Marcus. Thank you very much. Roben Farzad, is there a way, because the money does cost something, so if the cost of school is this high, is there a way for the government to bring down the prices, the interest rates on these loans further than they already do?
There are federally subsidized loans and grant systems, as you know, from the college and grad school process. But the courts and Capitol Hill can very indeed thwart presidential fiat, as you saw with the Biden administration, and trying to wipe away usurious student loans. You know, that what was that $10,000 idea, or various other back channels they tried to take, forbearance, putting it off during the pandemic. It's much easier said than done. And you don't really, it's not something that the executive branch unto itself can do unilaterally. I will say, as you know, Jeremy, that there's a big rethink right now about debt in general, that if there are jobs that are available that you could take with 1 or 2 year apprenticeships in lieu of college, if you can go into trade school, if you can learn kind of EV repair, get into solar and other things, the payoff, the risk reward is just much better than a 4-year liberal arts degree for the time being. So that's really a diminishing return.
If I could jump in.
Yeah, please, Julie.
Nobody's entitled to go to Harvard or to Vanderbilt or under the big Eastern colleges. If you choose to go somewhere where you're going to get $100,000, $200,000 worth of debt to get a degree, you might want to think about this. I do believe in public education, and the significance of tuition in public universities is so much different than that. You're not going to graduate with a staggering amount of debt. Who ever thought that you would have to be entitled to go to these elite universities?
I will say, though, Julie, I taught a class today at the University of Illinois, and I asked the students how much they're paying, and the in-state tuition is like $30,000 now, even for a big state school. So it's gone up a lot. I mean, it really has gone up a lot. Let's go to Colby, who's in Houston. Colby, welcome to The Middle. Go ahead.
So when I tuned in, y'all were talking about housing and food, and it got me thinking. I live in Texas, and we have an abortion ban, and I believe this is going to cause a ripple effect. It's going to cause a huge increase, well, not a huge, but a significant increase in the demand for goods and services and housing, and we might not be able to keep up with it.
Explain. What do you mean by that? How would the abortion ban cause a ripple effect like that?
Well, for one, on the micro level, someone who can't afford to have a child is now in a position where they have no choice. And on a larger level, you're going to have an uptick in birth rates. And when you have people who aren't moving out of their houses, you got empty nesters who've got 5-bedroom houses, and it's just them sitting there. This is going to cause an increase in demand. And also in food and other services across the board, school overcrowding, things like this. and especially in Texas where teachers and OBGYNs are leaving the state.
Colby, thank you very much. I'm glad you brought that up because Juli Niemann, this is an issue that I think is kind of still under the radar in this election. This is going to be the first presidential election since the Dobbs decision. And Colby brings up something that there's an economic impact to what's happened with abortion in this country in the last 2 years.
The amount of outrage over this is pretty breathtaking, but it's not just exactly with the elected officials. It goes much deeper than that, especially with the courts. At this point, the only thing that's going to change anything is going to be at the election, at the ballot box. From an economic standpoint, it's going to be an economic cost to the people who are suffering from it, namely the women who can't get proper medical care. How do you measure that? Well, it amounts. Hospitals can't keep record.
Let's go to David, who's in Woodstock, Illinois. David, welcome to The Middle. What do you think the next president should do? Hi.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the program. There's so many different approaches. I've changed my thoughts 12 times hearing all these other people. First of all, I think the economy is in good shape. I understand the high costs, but graduates need to realize that back in 1979, inflation was over 15%. Gas went from 30 cents to $1.20 in no time. Things were tougher. So my key points, there's so many ways to go, but I disagree with the flat tax. A progressive tax needs to be put in place. The rich have the money. Go where the money is. I also think that there needs to be regulation on excess profits and corporate gouging. And lastly, though there's many more issues, I've talked to several people who are in their 30s and 40s, and housing is a big, big issue. But housing over the last 50 years has gone from 300 square foot per person to 900 square foot per person. Families are smaller, houses are bigger. We have to incentivize builders and local zoning to reduce the size of houses and make it more affordable. People can start. They can add on when they need to. But, somebody trying to buy their first house and it's 2,500 square feet and it's $450,000. That's crazy.
Okay. David, thank you very much. Roben
Tolliver,
Farzad.
Jeremy, may I share a recollection
Please,
because you shared that McCain audio?
Yeah.
Do you remember the feeling? I mean, Jeremy, I think you were a Marketplace back then, I forget, but
the
feeling of free fall. And 60 Minutes was covering all sorts of homeowners who were just mailing the keys back to the bank. You had all these excerpts that were cored out. There were some places in Arizona outside of Tucson where bobcats and coyotes were taking over homes. Literally, they're ripping out copper pipes. Wall Street had these toxic assets on their book. That was just 15 years ago. And people today would never believe you if you tell a 20-something that, you could not give away homes back then. There's always inevitably a cyclicality to this. People age out, people die out. They can't live on the second floor. Younger families take hold. I mean, cyclicality is cyclicality. And yes, we are supply constrained for the time being, but things can and do fall apart.
By the way, I stand corrected. I did say that the undergraduate tuition at the University of Illinois was $30,000 in-state. It's $33,000 for the out-of-state. It's about $16,000 for.
Did you get an angry text?
It's still a lot. No, I thought to myself, is that really right? And I looked it up. Okay, let's get to another caller here, and Eric, who is in Boise, Idaho. Eric, welcome to The Middle. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. I am interested in a carbon fee and dividend, also known as carbon tax. But this is would be a brave move that would tax polluters, return the money to taxpayers immediately, and would also incorporate a carbon tariff on imports. And I think this would supercharge America's economy transition towards green tech, clean energy, and make America a leader in the field.
And are you hearing that from either of the candidates, Eric?
No, unfortunately. I think this is even a nonpartisan supported proposal. Most economists think that it's the best way to transition, and in the long term will be the best way to move the economy. I think I think there's not the bravery of our current politicians to stand up and actually put it out there. And I think it's waiting for a popular rise.
Okay, Eric, thank you very much. A carbon tax. And let me go to Diana, who's in Denver, Colorado. Diana, welcome to The Middle. What do you think the next president should do?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
I think the president should establish a national infrastructure bank, as Alexander Hamilton did in the days of the country becoming independent, and is Franklin Delano Roosevelt used as the Reconstruction Finance thing to help us get out of the recession and gear up for fighting World War II. There's a proposal currently before Congress in a bill 4052 to establish such a public bank, which would get money by not getting it off the budget. It would require no budget financing and would be independent, and would the infrastructure in this country is so far behind the rest of the world, the rest of the developed world, that we are losing productivity every day because we can't transport things quickly and so forth. And if you look at the National Infrastructure Bank Coalition website, there's details in it that are make a lot of sense to me.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that, Diana. Appreciate it. And Juli Niemann, a national infrastructure bank. Of course, the Biden administration did pass this big infrastructure bill, which is still, it's going to take many years for that money to be spent on the infrastructure there. But what about that?
Well, and 4 presidents earlier all tried to do the same thing. Even Trump did too, but Congress dug its heels in. So now we're underway and the process is continuing on. But this is a whole nation of buy now, pay later, has been for everything. And we're going to continue to do that. When you have something as a discipline as an infrastructure bank, it's an institution and you start reserving for it and people stop yammering about it. You do it whether they like it or not. That takes care of that buy now, pay later problem.
But Roben Farzad, Diana does bring up a good point, which is that without the infrastructure investments, the economy is slowed down. If we didn't have the railroads that we had.
And you, by the way, you cover passenger rail Amtrak better than anyone. And I thought of you the other week. Amtrak was trumpeting a new Miami to Chicago route. And I'm thinking to myself, nobody asked for this. I mean, everybody's asking for Northeast Corridor. For
because it would take like 36 hours on.
It would take 36 hours and like $700. And it's not a golden age of travel type thing. Literally no one is asking for it. And, we've had Pete Buttigieg on the show and others, and we ask him, why must these stations look like they're out of 1972 East Germany? Because it's put together through a really balkanized political consensus. You're never going to let the Northeast Corridor just be the Northeast Corridor. I mean, Superstorm Sandy was in 2012, right? That tunnel problem is still problematic. It still has damage. They still haven't fixed the problems. I was in Manhattan. The entire west side of Manhattan is developed. I mean, unbelievable development west of Penn Station. Penn Station is still a catastrophe. And I'm just talking about Manhattan. I mean, think about LA. Think about the issues with Tampa. Think about infrastructure preparedness in the Virginia coast and climate change and sea level rise. I mean, these are big honking issues, and they tend to be kind of left to the states to kind of deal with on an ad hoc basis.
Don't come for my Acela line, man.
Yeah,
in the Northeast, bangs.
Let's sneak one more call in here. Dana is in Rock Island, Illinois. We'll just have to be brief, Dana, but go ahead.
Hey, my big concern is the housing market, and the housing market is sick. It got sick in 2008. Prior to 2008, there were about 2,000 housing starts filed every year in this country by builders. At 2008, it dropped to under 500, and it stayed 500, 400, 400, 600 for the next 5 or 6 years. And these are permits for new housing starts. And from that point on, it started to climb, and I think this year we're about maybe 1,500. But my point is the building industry really got sick in 2008. Small builders went out of business. Yeah. Big builders got cut down, and the support trades that were around those areas, those guys drifted off doing other things. So we have a shortage.
Shortage of housing. Yeah, and I want to thank you very much for that call, Dana. Juli Niemann, that is not the first call that we've heard about housing tonight. Just briefly, I mean, is that surprising to you that that's the issue many people are bringing up?
No, because it directly impacts everything. Their rents are going up as a result of this. And any kind of housing cost, your housing, regardless of what it is, those are the biggest costs that you're facing right now. Food is actually coming down. Rents are not anything. So that's the issue and why they're worried about it. Unfortunately, it has no early resolution to it.
Before we let you go, I have a quiz for both of you. And here it is. Which state right now has the lowest average gas price? And the hint is, it is a swing state. Julie,
I'd say Georgia.
Julie, your guess?
Pennsylvania.
It's Georgia. Good job, Robin. You're welcome back. Actually, you're both welcome back. Juli Niemann, financial analyst with Smith Moore & Company and business journalist and host of Full Disclosure, Roben Farzad. Wonderful to have you both on. Thank you so much.
Jeremy. My pleasure.
Thank you.
And by the way, this Sunday, The Middle has a live cross-border election special. Canadian and American callers from across the continent answering the question, what's at stake for you in this election? You can tune in on many stations for America Votes, a cross-border conversation this Sunday. If you want to be on the show, go to cbc.ca/aircheck. And next week, I will be at KNPR in Las Vegas asking you whether or not you trust the polls. Are you freaking out about them? Do you think they're right? Tolliver, how can they reach us?
Be sure to call in at 8444-MIDDLE. That's 844-464-3353. Or you can reach out at listentothemiddle.com, where you can also sign up for our free weekly newsletter.
The Middle is brought to you by Long Nook Media, distributed by Illinois Public Media in Urbana, Illinois, and produced by Harrison Patino, Danny Alexander, Sam Burmis-Dawes, and John Barth. Our intern is Annika Deschler. Our technical director is Jason Croft. Thanks to our podcast audience and the more than 420 public radio stations that are making it possible for people across the country to listen to The Middle. I'm Jeremy Hobson, and I will talk to you on Sunday.
Over the last couple years, didn't we learn that the folding chair was invented by Black people because of what happened in Alabama?
The Montgomery Brawl.
This Black History Month, the podcast Selective Ignorance with Mandy B unpacks Black history and culture with comedy, clarity, and conversations that shake the status quo. The Crown Act in New York was signed in July of 2019, and that is a bill that was passed to prohibit discrimination based on hairstyles associated with race. To hear this and more, listen to Selective Ignorance with Mandy B from the Black Effect Podcast Network on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
1969. Malcolm and Martin are gone. America is in crisis. And at Morehouse College, the students make their move.
These students, including a young Samuel L. Jackson, locked up the members of the Board of Trustees, including Martin Luther King Sr. It's the true story of protest and rebellion in Black American history that you'll never forget. I'm Hans Charles.
I'm Menelik Lumumba.
Listen to The A Building on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I actually drop better when I'm high. It heightens my senses, calms me down. If anything, I'm more careful. Honestly, it just helps me focus.
That's probably what the driver who killed a 4-year-old told himself. And now he's in prison. You see, no matter what you tell yourself, if you feel different, you drive different. So if you're high, just don't drive. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
This is Ryder Strong, and I have a new podcast called The Red Weather. In 1995, my neighbor, Anna Trainer, disappeared from the commune.
It was nature and trees and praying and drugs.
So no, I am not your guru.
And back then, I lied to everybody.
They have had this case for 30 years.
I'm going back to my hometown to uncover the truth. Listen to The Red Weather on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
When segregation was a law, one mysterious Black club owner, Charlie Fitzgerald, had his own rules.
Segregation in the day, integration at night.
It was like stepping in another world.
Was he a businessman, a criminal, a hero?
Charlie was an example of power. They had to crush him.
Charlie's Place, from Atlas Obscura and Visit Myrtle Beach. Listen to Charlie's Place on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed Human.